a few housekeeping items as to how a general idea of how the meeting will go. As each agenda item is presented, I will intro the agenda item and turn it over to staff to present the agenda item with some more information. And I will then ask for the applicant to make their presentation. After the applicant presentation, I will ask for public comment on that specific agenda item. If you would, in a normalized order somehow, please come to the podium. Please state your name clearly for the record. We're going to try to keep it at a rough 3-minute mark as you're speaking, just to give everyone time to talk. And then after the public comment period, I will give the applicant another opportunity to make any closing comments. We will entertain any questions from the commission, and then I will ask for staff's recommendation on said agenda item. And then the commission will take over from there. For the commission for tonight, instead of a vocal vote, when it's time to vote, I ask you to do an uplifting of hand. Make sure that it's high enough so that it can be caught on camera so that everyone can see. Okay? That's all the agenda items or all the housekeeping items I have for tonight. The first thing, we need to approve our minutes from our last planning commission meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Point of order.
Yes.
We need to call to order to establish quorum.
We need to establish quorum. Okay. Do we have a quorum?
Commissioner McCraw,
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Present.
Commissioner Flint,
Present.
Commissioner DeRoberts,
Present.
Commissioner Pease,
Present.
Commissioner Ellisor, Chairman Stoddard.
Present.
Let it be noted that Commissioner Ellisor did contact us ahead of time that he'd be unable to attend tonight.
Thank you, sir. Quorum has been established. Went over housekeeping items. We'll go back to the approval of minutes. We do have a motion on the floor to approve minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a second?
A second.
All those in favor by the uplifting of the hand? And all those opposed? All right, meeting stand approved. Our first item of business tonight is SP-2024-01. This is a final development plan for Woodside Village Zone 2. We'll now hear from staff.
So before you tonight is a final development plan for the Woodside Village. For those that might not be familiar with the process for this, with this special zoning district that they lie within, they have already been to the Planning Commission and have already been to Council for an approval of a statement of intent as well as a concept plan. So tonight, what is being done by the Commission is basically verifying that the submitted plans are in line with that approved concept plan and approved statement of intent.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll now hear from our applicant.
Good evening. My name is Bradley Smith with Davis & Floyd Engineering. We've submitted this final development plan. We believe it is adhering to the original intent of the pre-development plan. As you can see in your package, we have site layout is shown along with architectural renderings of the Woodside Mill apartments and the stacked flat cottages, which are both on site. And landscaping plans are also shown as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any preliminary questions for our applicant? Thank you, sir. I will now open the floor for public comment for this specific agenda item. Hearing none. Last call, do we have any questions for our applicant? We'll now hear staff's recommendation on this agenda item.
Thank you. Just as a side note too, you have a new packet that was given to you tonight, which showed some revisions in line with the review letter that was given to the engineer. Staff has not had the time to verify if it covered all of the materials or all of the comments that we had put out there. With that being said, we do feel that what has been proposed is in line with that statement of intent concept, but on the staff report, you'll notice there is a recommended motion, and I would ask that the commission use that motion to kind of give a little context to that. It is asking for a conditional approval of this final development plan, basically based off of that review letter, so that it gives us the authority to kind of go back and forth, work with them, get those final things buttoned up, and then we can stamp them approved.
Okay. Well, for me, that I will move that the planning commission recommend a conditional approval that the final development plan for phase 2 of the Woodside Village Development, SP 2024-01, on the basis that the engineer address any staff comments provided in the review letter. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, now that we've got that on the floor, is there any discussion that we need to have between the commission? Any comments that we would like to make?
I just had one question, Mr. Chairman. I'm not even sure if it's appropriate to this particular phase, but they were asking for a waiver on the, what was it, the buffering for Zone 1 was in one of these.
I think the only thing that we are tasked with voting tonight is the final development plan for Zone 2.
Zone 2, that's what I
Yep.
thought. Okay, that's it.
Is this rendering, has this already been approved before today?
That was some concept art that was preliminary approved, that was a place in our packet with the, first time that this came through for the annex and rezone. And I think that's just some concept art of what they are attempting to make this look like. They've provided some, on that next page, they've provided some exterior materials that they're gonna be using within that packet as well.
Yeah, I see that. The goal is for it to look like the original mill.
Is that correct, Mr. Knudsen?
So that's a concept to pull material items, and that's one of those things that has already been approved by council, that concept. So the final renderings don't need to match that identically. It gives kind of a visualization of some of the things that can pull into that final design.
Any other comments? I mean, overall, I do like what I'm seeing so far, and I do feel, me personally, this does, overall match the original preliminary development plan that, came before us. I do appreciate the, landscaping that was applied to this plan. Thank you, we appreciate that. Okay, any other further comments or questions?
Sorry, I have one more.
Sure.
With the stacked flats, I'm trying to see where they're gonna park. Is that on there? Because the concept is that the bottom level would have a tenant and the top level would have a different tenant. Is it 2 families per or 3?
Good
I believe
question.
it was on the rear last time.
Actually, the stacked flats are 4 individual apartment units.
Okay, so where are they parking?
So parking is mainly associated to the rear, but there is sidewalk access to the front of all those units and side access doors. So the lower unit will be only accessible from the rear. Think of that as almost a walkout basement type unit. And then I will call them the second, third, and fourth stories would have access through a side stairwell door and from the front.
Is that an internal stairwell or an
Yes.
external?
Internal, I believe.
Internal stairwell?
So it'd be one door going in and then you access.
I believe so.
Okay.
That was my understanding, yes, sir.
Just want to make sure people aren't parking in the street. in front of it.
No, we provided enough parking within the site that shouldn't be an issue.
And that rear parking is on the backside of both sets of stack flats, correct? Front
That
set
is-
of stack flats and the back set of stack
That
flats.
is correct, yes.
And is the pool that I am seeing situated on that back set of stacked cottages, is that available for the apartments and the stacked flats, I assume?
Yes, it is. That's a shared amenity.
Shared amenity, okay. 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 Any other questions or comments?
I have a question concerning, during the construction, those streets are very narrow. Fairview Road, and then the streets adjacent to that. Are those going to be in any way impacted by the construction?
Well, the construction entrance will be off Diamond Tip Boulevard, that upper road, but construction should be pretty much within the site itself. I don't anticipate any activity from Diamond Tip on those. Everything should be within the site and kind of being built from the rear, I would anticipate. There's really no way to do that from the main road without blocking traffic. Other than there are some improvements that will be done along Diamond Tip Boulevard, but those will be kind of incremental and after the majority of the apartments and stacked flats have been constructed.
Following up Mr. Flint's question, with Diamond Tip, is it going to impact traffic on Diamond Tip at all, or will Diamond Tip still be accessible to through traffic?
It will be accessible.
Okay.
Now, I will say there will be some work done along that, but there'll have to be some traffic control measures put in place while that work is going on. There's additional sidewalk, some storm drains we're tying into off Diamond Tip. So we will impact traffic there, but that will not be a full-time impact.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, I have one quick question. I mean, the majority of us weren't here when this was first going through, but could you just explain a little bit about how you feel the vehicle traffic from this site isn't going to detrimentally affect the neighborhood? Because you're talking hundreds of cars, hundreds of vehicle trips a day, probably right at rush hour, which traffic is like electrical current. It'll seek the path of least resistance. So, I would assume more than half the people are going to be headed to the highway. And you got two options. You got to either make a left onto Fairview, or you go through these tiny little streets and take a right onto Woodside, then a right, to get onto the other exit. But, again, a lot of us weren't here for that part of this, I think. But I'd just like to hear what your thoughts are on those hundreds of vehicle trips a day, which is not huge, but it's enough of a concern. I'd just like to hear what your thoughts on it.
Yes. I take your point on that, and it's understood. There will definitely be an impact there. I would be dishonest if I told you there wouldn't be. Now, our original design, we had hoped to have a second entrance out onto Fairview Street. After we approached the DOT, that was not possible based on where we would have to situate that in conjunction with Diamond Tip. There was not enough spacing to allow that. So that's why it's been shown as an emergency entrance, and the primary entrance will be along Diamond Tip. Now, I do think that's a very short distance out to Fairview. I wouldn't anticipate there would be a huge impact other than at that one intersection. But to your point, yes, there will be a vehicle impact there, and I'm afraid I can't deny that.
Thank you for being honest.
Yes, sir.
I do have a follow-up question to that. The emergency access that I'm seeing, is that the one that's still bordering the creek? Is that just gonna be like a gravel reinforced bed?
Yeah, actually, it won't even be gravel. It won't be noticeable to your eyes. What we typically specify is a plastic geogrid system, which you can actually plant grass on.
Okay.
But it is drivable and it's acceptable for emergency access vehicles.
Is it gonna be open at all times, or is it going to be gated?
Typically gated. I'm not sure what the city would request there. Sometimes they request a siren-activated gate, so that when the siren goes off, the gate lock automatically opens. If not, they would be supplied with the
Knox box?
box to get in.
Okay. One last question. Turning off of Diamond Tip onto Fairview Street, did DOT regulate like left out only, or are they gonna allow a left or a right out from Diamond Tip? Did they say at all?
From Diamond Tip, no, we have not been restricted
Okay.
as far as turning there.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion that we have on the floor, uplifting of hand. All those opposed, uplifting of hand. Mr. Knudsen, do you have that written down?
I do, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now move on to our second agenda item. This is PZ 2024-04. This is a rezone to R12 residential district. We'll hear from staff.
So that one kind of covers it. This is a simple introduction. It's R15 currently within the city limits. And the applicant is requesting that it be rezoned to the R12 zoning district.
Okay, we'll hear from our applicant.
Ty Cunningham, representing the Gulliver Street project. Right now, zone R15, it is allotted for 7.8 houses. We're requesting it being rezoned to R12, which would give us one more lot, but would also give us the ability to add curb and gutters and sidewalks in the neighborhood as we tend to build custom homes in that. We're not building townhouses. It'll be 6 or 7 custom homes, probably $800,000. 3,000 to 3,500 square feet custom homes.
Okay. Any questions for our applicant? Gonna open the, thank you, sir, appreciate it. We're gonna open the floor for public comment. Anybody that would like to speak, you can come and speak.
Okay. I don't think I'm the only one that signed up, but my name is Ashley Riddle, and a couple of meetings ago, the city council approved the Envision Comprehensive Plan. And before I say anything about that, I'd like to say that I live on Gulliver Street. We live at 600 Gulliver Street. We are diagonally across the street from Miss Iva Garrett's former property. There's a lot of activity going on down the road. It's quite busy. As you know, there's a lot of, the whole world wants to come to Fountain Inn right now. I've seen quite a change there. My wife and I have been at 600 Gulliver Street for 40 years. I was raised down the road just outside Fountain Inn at Riddle Dairy Farm, about 2.5 to 3 miles, I think, from our house. And we do board horses down on Durbin Road. So we see a lot of growth and activity in the area, and I never would have dreamed that the world is clamoring to get to Fountain Inn. We're involved, our group, we have a little group, and we're involved a lot in Lawrence County, trying to hold the Lawrence County Council to accountability, to follow the rules. You've got ordinances in place, you've got, they don't have zoning, but we have zoning. We've got the benefit of zoning, right? Hopefully that, we can talk about that down in Lawrence County at some point. So at some point in the past, this property was zoned R15. I know that in the area that we have, it's mixed. We've got some R12. The R15 is what this property is. It was zoned R15 when the developer, when the owners purchased it, so they knew what they were getting. We feel like, okay, maybe it's only going to be another house or two, right? But let's draw the line. It is what it is. It was R15 when they sat down at the closing table, right? So let's hold their feet to the fire on that. I'm in a minority because I'm one of those crazy guys that actually read the Envision plan. That thing was long, but I read it. I've got a few things here. When they were having the meetings, there was a lot of public input, and they were asked questions. What would you like to see in the area and whatnot? Well, the top 3 reasons, the number one of the top reasons for being in Fountain Inn for these residents was a small town atmosphere. Okay, that's changing. This development right here, God bless them, but that's not going to help us much with that, is it? With the traffic and whatnot. Nothing personal, sir. Another thing, the top priorities for the future of Fountain Inn is to preserve, this is according to the Envision, I've got it right here, to preserve the small town atmosphere. And here's another one, this last one, it says, if you had to relocate to Fountain Inn, what housing options would interest you? And the vast majority, you see that long line right there, 69% of the people said, single-family house with large yard. Okay, let's give them a large yard. That's what people want. Right beside this property, and I'm almost done, I promise. Right beside this property, which is directly across the street from us, is the Farrow property. I think it was about that they had passed away, the family sold the property. And I'm not necessarily anti-development. I just want to, let's just stay within the boundaries that we have set. So a developer came in, they bought the Farrow's property, approximately 1.5 acres, I think. Well, they didn't come in and ask for zoning to put a cul-de-sac in there and see how many houses they could stack in there. They cut a line right down the middle of it. And I love that. They're building houses right across the street from us. 2 houses on 1.5 acres. God bless them. So build your houses, do it within the confines of the current zoning, and let's give these folks a big yard. Give them what they want right here, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Any other further public comment?
I'm Carol Davis. I live at 700 Gulliver Street. I've lived there for 45 years, and there's a reason why that was zoned 1,500 square feet. I don't see a reason why it should be changed now. And changing it now, it reflects back on us, the ones that have lived there all this time. The traffic on that road is unreal. I mean, I live at the corner of Gulliver and Telfair, and to get out on Gulliver Street, it's something else. I mean, subdivision after subdivision going in, we can't handle much more. Not even the 8 houses they're wanting to build right across the street. I know it's gonna happen, but we don't even need to add one more house. One more is too many.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Anyone further?
I'm Deborah Dubiel. I live at 109 Garrett Street. My property backs right up to where they have all their landmark signs. And I'm really upset. I've been there 14 years. I haven't been there all that long, but it's been long for me. We have enjoyed every bit of being there. But anymore, the more traffic I see, it's horrible. There was just an accident right in that area last week. They had to divert everybody off the street. They couldn't go further up Gulliver Street. You couldn't, I made a right, I had to turn around and come right back down Garrett in order to get into town. There's too much traffic. So much is being built, and I have trees that probably will come down now. It's terrible. There's deer that come through my yard, all kinds of wildlife that'll be gone if this continues. And it's very upsetting.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to staff. Actually, hold on, we'll do some questions. Is there any questions that we have?
I have a question. You said 6 to 7 houses. What was the price point on that again?
800,000.
Any other questions for now? Okay, we'll hear staff's recommendation.
Okay. Give me a second here. So after the review of the request, along with the comprehensive plan that was just approved, comprehensive plan does call for this area to be low to medium density residential, which the R12 district does fall in line with. So staff does recommend the approval of the requested zoning to R12.
Thank you. Do we have a motion so that we can get this onto the floor to discuss it as a commission? And remember, making a motion does not mean that you are in favor or against said agenda item.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. All right, now that it's on the floor. Any comments or any other further questions? I have some comments. I am in agreeance with most of the neighbors that live out Gulliver Street. I live outside of Gulliver Street too. Travel that road every day. I see the same traffic. I am not sure that rezoning this to stuff 6 or 7 more homes on said property would be the best use, in my personal opinion. And when the commission gets a piece of paper that just states that you're wanting to rezone just so you can build some homes, it feels very veiled to us as a commission when we're looking at something and not getting a design and not knowing what this is going to look like and not knowing how, but just knowing that there's going to be 6 or 7 homes is a little bit frustrating that we're having to sit here to have this discussion without a clear set of knowledge that is set before us. We're being asked to make a decision on something that all we know is, oh yeah, it's a rezone. We're gonna throw some homes out there and we're gonna hope for the best. For me personally, that's just something that doesn't fly well with me. It doesn't sit well with me. I've driven by that property. I'm quite shocked, to be honest with you. I didn't realize that the property went as deep as it did. From the road, it only looks like it's a small parcel. So when I saw it come up for rezone, I'm like, well, this is a small parcel. They must be wanting something, maybe an extra home. And I agree with Mr. Riddle. For the property to the left of that, where they took it and divided it straight down the middle, that's great. That's fantastic. Well within the use of the zoning that was currently there. But this one, I'm just not so comfortable with. It doesn't sit well with me. That's the only comments that I have. Anything further for the commission?
I agree. I agree with you that
Can I go back up there and talk, or?
Just a second.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, I got this piece of paper that tells me nothing. I'd like to have a little bit more information before I can even make a decision on that. It's,
If you would like to come speak, you can come speak.
I do apologize about that. We do have a redrawn thing from Blue Water Civil. I thought it was already turned in to y'all. I'm a partner in this, so I do apologize for that. But we do have something drawn by a civil engineer that we can present at a later date, at the next meeting, so that there's more knowledge, so that y'all are not guessing at blind stuff.
Thank you. Commission, we have a decision to make here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, yes.
The way I kind of looked at this is maybe a little different. I just look at it from a purely how you rezone things. And rezoning single lots like this is not really preferred.
Right.
If we were going to rezone something, I would take all those R15s and move them to R12. Now, you can make the argument, some people, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term spot zoning, but this isn't really spot zoning because it does abut that R12, so you could just consider it an extension of the R12 district. But it just from the way you rezone things, it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Any other further comments or questions that we have here? Okay, so we have several options as a commission. If it's the will of the commission, we can table this agenda item, or we can go ahead and take a vote. But if we're table, I need someone to make a counter motion to be able to table this agenda item, or we can just go ahead and force the vote.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I think we all understand that the end purpose is to be developed. Really, what we're considering is the zoning change, so I think we should probably just take the vote.
Take the vote? Okay.
That's my opinion.
All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please show by uplifting of hand. All those opposed? All right. Seeing no further agenda items on the agenda tonight, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I make the second. All those in favor, uplifting of hand? We're adjourned.